Hello, thanks for watching the Chapter 7 review. If you do not have one right now, I want you to press pause and go ahead and go get a calculator. One of the most important parts is that you know how to use your calculator correctly, since we are to that point where calculator use is allowed. Okay, so make sure you have a calculator on you. So, first thing we did in this chapter was to find percent of a number. So we're going to find each number, round to the nearest tenth if necessary. Remember, when you're finding percent of a number, you're going to multiply. So 78% of 50, the first thing you're going to do is change your percent to a decimal. So 78 hundredths times 50. Okay, we're going to plug that into our calculator. 0.78 times 50 is 39 exactly. So 78% of 50 is 39. 0.75% of 80. 0.75% is 0.0075. Remember, you're taking this number, your percent, and you're dividing it by 100 to change it to a decimal. Of 80, so we're multiplying by 80. So in my calculator, I'm going to plug 0.0075 times 80, and you get 0.6. So once again, I didn't have to worry about rounding to the nearest tenth. If I did, remember the first place behind the decimal is the tenth spot. I look back at the hundredths to decide whether to add one or to keep it the same. Okay? 6 is what percent of 120? So now we're getting into percent proportion. Okay, remember percent proportion is part over whole, which equals percent over 100. So we don't know what the percent is, so we're going to put the x right here. Okay. 6 is what percent of 120? So 6 is the part of 120 is the whole. Okay, and now we're going to cross multiply and solve. So I take 120 times x, which is 120x. I take 6 times 100, which is 600. And then I'm going to divide both sides by, 120. So 600 divided by 120 is 5. So x equals 5. Now remember, since it's percent proportion, this number represents the number over 100. And we know any number over 100 is just that percent. So it's 5%. Next one, I have 65% of what number is 39. Okay, so I have my percent. We know that because it's the percent sign on it. So I have 65 hundredths of what number is 39. So 39 is the part, and I'm trying to find the whole. Okay, I'm going to cross multiply again. So I get 65 times x equals 39 times 100, which is 3900. I'm going to divide both sides by 65. So 3900 divided by 65 is 60. X equals 60. And it should make sense that if this is my whole and the percent is less than 100, that the x, the whole, should be larger than the part. And in this case, it is. Okay? We're going to estimate. Remember, when you estimated, you looked for a percent that was the closest. 25% actually, we can just use 25%, which is 1/4. And then you're trying to find a compatible number. So remember, a compatible number means that I can look across from one another and the 4 can divide into that number. Well, if you check, 4 cannot divide into 81. So we're going to pick a number that is closest to 81 that 4 can divide into. Okay, so I'm going to change 81 to 80. So this is my estimation part. I'm going to cross reduce them by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 80 divided by 4 is 20. And now I'm going to multiply across. 1 times 20 is 20. 1 times 1 is 1. So 20 over 1 equals 20. So an estimation of 25% of 81 will be about 20. Now, 19.5% of 96, if you look on your list from this section, and this is from section 7.3, we're going to pick the percent that's closest to 19.5, which is 20%. We know 20% is 1/5. So now I'm going to find 1/5 of, so I'm going to multiply by 96. Well, we know 96 is not compatible with 5 because it does not end in 5 or 0. So I'm going to change it to the next closest number, which would be 95. So I'm going to divide both sides by 5 to cross reduce. This is 1, this is 19, and then we're going to multiply across. 1 times 19 is 19. 1 times 1 is 1. So my answer is 19. Okay, so that's estimating. You're going to change your percent to one of those from the actual percent list that we wrote out in section 7.3. Change it to a fraction, multiply it by the number. Sometimes you're going to have to change these numbers here to get them to be compatible, okay, with your fraction. Remember, it has to be compatible with that denominator. Now we're going to write an equation for each problem, then solve. Round to the nearest tenth if necessary. So the equation is part equals percent times whole. Okay. So 32 is what percent of 50? 32 is my part. We don't know what the percent is, and it's of 50. Okay, so I want to get x by itself so I can find my percent. You're going to divide both sides by 50. 32 divided by 50 is 64.64. And that would be x. Okay, it's a percent. Right now it's a decimal, so I need to change it to a percent by multiplying by 100. So x equals 64%. Don't forget to change your decimal back to a percent. Okay, 12% of what number is 108? So I have my part, which is 108. 12% is 0.12, and I'm multiplying by whatever the whole is. So I'm going to divide both sides by 0.12 to get x by itself. Remember, you changed our percent to a decimal. So 108 divided by 0.12 is 900. So x would equal 900. And since we're just solving for the whole, we do not have to change anything. That's my answer. I don't have to worry about changing it to a decimal. That's only when you're given a percent. Okay, on your test, we don't mind if you use percent equation or percent proportion for these types of questions. Remember, in percent proportion, since you're writing the percent over 100, you don't have to worry about changing anything to decimals, but in percent equation you must. So make sure you're very familiar with at least one of those forms. Okay, now we're going to find each percent of change. Round to the nearest whole percent if necessary, and state whether the percent of change is an increase or a decrease. Okay, so for percent of change is new minus old divided by old. Then we're going to multiply it by 100. So I have 254 minus 172, and I'm going to divide that by 172. Multiply by 100. Okay, so with my calculator, I have 254 minus 172, and you get 82. And then I'm going to divide 82 by 172, okay, and multiply that answer by 100. You get 47.674, la-di-da-di-da. We're going to round to the nearest whole percent, so this would be 48%. Since my original is smaller than my new, this would be a percent of increase. Okay, so new amount minus original amount or old amount divided by original. Okay, and then you multiply by 100. So subtract first, then divide, then multiply by 100. Find the total cost or sale price to the nearest cent. Okay, so my backpack is $25. I'm using 7% sales tax. Okay, because I'm doing 25, and if I want to multiply this by 7%, that's going to tell me how much tax, okay, I'm going to have to pay, which is 25 times 0.07. So I'm going to have to pay $1.75. Then to find the total cost, I would take 25 plus $1.75. So that's $26.75. Remember that you can also do 25 times what you're paying, and you're paying 107%, which is 1.07. So if I take 25 times 1.07, you're going to automatically get $26.25. So either one of those methods would be correct in this situation. Okay, so I have 210. If my discount is 15%, then I'm actually paying 85% of the total price. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply this by 0.85 since I'm paying 85% of my total price. So 210 times 0.85, 110 times 0.85, I get $178.50. Okay, if you prefer, and this would be my sale price, if you prefer to multiply by 0.15 to get your discount and subtract from $210, that would give you the same amount. So that's perfectly fine. This way is a little faster, which is why I use it, but it's completely up to you. Both are correct. All right, now we're going to find the simple interest earned to the nearest cent of each principal interest for each principal interest rate and time. So here's my principal rate and time. You look in your notes, you know that the interest equals principal times rate times time. Okay, we know we have to change our rate to a decimal. So I'm going to do 475 times 0.05, and then I'm going to multiply by the time. Now remember, the time, if it's given in months, it has got to be in years. So I'm going to take my months, which is 9, and I'm going to divide it by 12 to convert it to years. And I get 0.75, okay, because it's 0.75 or 3/4 of a year. Okay, so time has got to be in years, rate has got to be written as a decimal, and principal is the amount of money you are paying towards. So I'm going to take 475 times 0.05 times 0.75, and you get 17.8125. I'm going to check that again one more time to make sure I did it correctly. 475 times 0.05 times 0.75. Yep. And it's money. So if it's money, I'm going to have to round to the nearest hundredths. The 1 is in the hundredth spot. The 2 tells me to keep it the same, round down. So my interest would be $17.81. Okay, once again, time has got to be in years. Your rate, which is a percent, has got to be written as a decimal. And then your principal is the amount of money you're putting into the bank or putting in to pay for towards your loan. Okay, the amount of money your loan is for. All right, thanks for watching. If you have questions, make sure you ask Mr. Cooling or I tomorrow. We are going to be doing a CPS type of review in class. So if you're watching this before, hopefully this will help you in answering those questions. Okay. You know, watching these is just going to be the best way for you to review, especially if you're just watching certain sections. So if there's something you still don't get, go back to that part and watch it again. Okay. As always, thanks for watching.